incorporating your child into your everyday life is by far the greatest thing that you could ever do when trying to find peace.
Right.
Because acknowledging them as two separate things then makes it seem like it's another object or another obstacle you have to get over in order to reach your peace, rather than recognizing that your peace is always sitting right in front of you, you know?
Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo Williams, and you are now tuned into another episode of the Everyday Stranger podcast. Let's get it. All right, so you were just listening to an excerpt from today's guest. She goes by the name of Kaila. Kaila is an amazing individual. I met her 4 to 5 years ago at a South by Southwest event. She was featured on the very first 100 Strangers series that I did back in 2015. In this conversation, we talk about who Kaila is now compared to who she was when we first met. We also dig into her journey through meditation and also her new life as a mother and a whole lot of other things from spirituality to today's generation and more. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. This is the Everyday Stranger podcast with today's guest, Kaila. All right, y'all, enjoy. Peace. How you doing, Kaila?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. Enjoying this weekend.
Yeah, same here.
For sure.
Same here.
For sure. Well, we on the air. I always start off with the question, what has life's greatest lesson been for you?
Ooh. I love that.
We're getting deep.
Yeah, right off the bat. No warm up. Okay. I would probably have to say, I got two of them, patience and presence.
Okay.
I don't think you can have one without the other.
Has there been is patience something that you feel like something you really had to work to get?
Yeah. You know, when you're younger, you're always taught to wait in line and this and that, and it for me created some sense of anxiousness.
Yeah.
You know, because you want to hurry to get there. You know, that's why we can never stand in line very long.
Right.
But as you get older, you kind of reflect on it and you realize, like, yeah, they were actually teaching you something. You know, is not the staying in line, but more so being patient about you know, your destination and knowing that there's things that it is that, you know, you're meant to be present for in the process of getting to that destination. So
interesting. And what has that destination, like, if you can describe it, what did the destination look like to you?
It looks like the way you feel when you haven't seen your family for a long time and you go to sit down on the couch and everybody's like, so how have you been? You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Like that.
So this is less, this isn't much of like a material thing, or like, this is more of a, I don't know, I guess you could say it's more of a feeling in a sense. Like,
yeah. It's you know, as you connect more to yourself, you just, I don't even like to say the word vibrate differently, but you do, you know, you present this this side of yourself that you didn't even know you had the patience to reach, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And how far do you feel you are from that feeling? At the
you know, in truth and honesty, the day I had my daughter.
Okay.
That was probably like you know, the cocoon turning into the butterfly thing. From that point on, everything changed. The way that I thought, the way that I decided to feel about myself, all of it. It was a really liberating experience, and something I understood about the lesson in patience, which was, especially with her, you know, when you take your time and you set your intentions and you understand the good of what you're doing, you know, nothing but greatness can come into fruition from that. Mm-hmm. And looking at her every day, she's constantly that pillar and that reminder that all is well, you know.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna talk more about the and first off, congratulations. I don't think I got a chance to actually congratulate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So congratulations on the new arrival. How old is she now?
She is 2 now. She just turned 2, September 12th.
Goodness, time is going by fast.
It has. It really has. It really, truly has.
It's crazy, man. Me and you, we met March 2015, Austin, Texas, 6th Street. You had the camera in your hand. I remember that. I remember the hat. And I'm trying to recall like what I was going through as well, but we talk about that later. But you,
I'll say I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. You might be able to remind me, but when I had told you who I was, and you allowed me to take your picture, and you shared a little something with me, and I'm gonna go ahead and read it real quick, and then I want to ask you a question on top of that, which is okay. So you said pretty much, I'm at a point in my life where I have nothing to fear, and you said, let me explain that. Because I'm teaching myself to live in the moment, I just take it as it comes. So I have nothing to fear because I have nothing to expect. Who were you when I met you, and then like compared to who you are now? Like what has really changed, and then how do you view that quote as I read it now? Like how does the quote make you? What do you think about it now?
So when you met me, that was like the start of the patience, the understanding that fear is something that we're given an illusion about. There's the basics. Make sure you don't put your hand on the stove because you're going to burn your hand. That's legit. You don't want to burn your hand. But when you start applying it to the things that you want to pursue in life, then you start to hold yourself back. And so that trip to Texas was me stopping myself from holding myself back. That was my first time ever going with like little to no. When I mean little to no money, I mean I was there for a full week.
That's interesting. Okay.
With nothing but myself and a camera and this small group of people who we had all like put in what bit we had to just go and have this experience. Mind you, this is like post breakup from like a really great relationship and all of that. So when I mean that trip was something that was necessary, that's who I was when you met me. I was just at the beginning.
Wow.
So now reflecting on that statement and where I am now, I gotta pat myself on the back. Because looking at how I have taken on fear as something that can even be a spiritual awakening for self. When you start to recognize what you're afraid of, you start asking yourself real questions. Well, why are you so scared? And where is that coming from? And is there a way that we can make peace with it so we can move forward in love and in safety? So yeah, like thinking about it, like that person then versus the person now, she gets it and understands it so much more now. That quote is something that I don't even know. That was God sent, because I don't even know how that was supposed to come. That was,
yeah.
When you asked me, I wasn't prepared.
That was mad deep though. I don't think you realize. I was like, that was really deep. Like, and I had to record it, and I remember like I would do the interviews, and I would as soon as I get to the hotel or back home, I would go through all the audio interviews, and I'm going through all of them, and I'm like, man, let me rewind that. Like, where did this come from? I was like, this is really deep, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that was seriously a God-sent comment, probably for this very moment here, to ask me again, so how do you feel?
Yeah.
And how are you? But yeah, I have to pat her on the back now, because it's like waxing and waning. It's easier to see the more often that it is that I've gone through life and had experiences, ups and downs and things like that. Everything is just come full circle. So yeah, shout out to her.
Straight up, yo. Special shout out to that girl named Kaila, yo. She's doing a great job.
That's real. That's real.
So I mean, and I noticed, I noticed that even on your Instagram page, like your spiritual journey has been very very profound, I must say. Like, it seems like you're growing more and more. And I notice a lot of changes, and I try not to judge everything off of social media, because I know most of the time we only share like a portion of our life on there. But from what I'm seeing a lot of growth in yourself. But what is so? I guess what I want to ask is what's been leading you to like a more spiritual way of living? Like it just seems like you're more spiritually in tune with a lot of things. Like what's been leading up to that? You know.
A couple things. I think one of them is just the understanding that I have control over myself and the experience that I want to have while I'm on this earth. And what sits within that bag, I get to play with and make. And so every day I try to treat life like that. Like, hey, this is something that is a gift. This is something that I'm given. How do I make the most of it every single day? And one of those grand ways has definitely been meditation. And there was a point that I pushed that so much that like I had to back up and be like, this is marketing at this point.
Big time. Big time.
Like I've just noticed that that it wasn't intentionally something that I wanted to make this like marketing kind of thing, but it was so profound to me that when you sit down with yourself and just give yourself that stillness, it allows everything else to catch up to you. You know, we're in a digital age where like everything is so fast.
Yeah.
And we're now almost to the end of the year, you know?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Golly,
don't remind me.
it's wild, you know. Time is really moving. And so to take those moments of stillness and to ask yourself, where are you? Who are you? Where are you going? Those things make such a huge difference. And so what you're essentially seeing with me on Instagram is me going through those phases and me being very honestly really open with myself. I just actually recorded a meditation for the first time, and it's by far the most vulnerable I've ever been. I've always seen everybody do like these meditations where like they're talking in the middle, and I realized like that's cool for other people and that's great, but you then take yourself out of the meditation to guide other people. And I noticed that the greatest meditations done are where people are in silence and they're just together. So for the one that it is that I recorded most recently, I just used music, and the music actually was guided meditation. But it's some of the artists that we listen to in our everyday. It's a matter of fact, it's the internet and Janae.
Oh man,
happened to merge them two in a meditation, and it just came from a heart space. And by the time I had finished, I had broken down and started crying. So I was like, wow, there's so much we're given to cover up with, you know, that to sit in vulnerability and allow people to see you as you are in a meditative state, it was by far profound. But I say all that to simply say, you're seeing me as I'm going through my journey. And I feel as though the greatest mission I could ever do is to live in my truth. And then in that, it gives others permission to do the same. And that's all I truly want to do, is be able to liberate people to be who they are, to heal and be who they are. You feel me?
I love that. Oh my goodness. Did you always well, when I had first met you, were you into meditation then, or is this something that you kind of picked up on later throughout the years?
Later on throughout the years. I had heard about it because I practiced yoga in high school, but I didn't understand it. Right. Like I was like, okay, you're supposed to sit here and be quiet. Cool.
Right. Right. And just hum.
right. And just like add a little hum to it and make it something. But after a while, after reading it and reading books on it, I'm a heavy book head.
Okay.
But reading books on it, watching other people do it and starting to understand that it was something a lot deeper than what was being shown superficially. As I started to understand that, then that's when it started to pick up for me. Now I get excited to to meditate, which sounds really weird, but I get excited to sit down and take a moment with myself, especially now with me having my daughter. You know, she's a ripping and running all day. And so to give myself that gift of time and and perfecting it. There's some days it is when I'm meditating in truth and honesty where I just want to move, and
Right.
and meditation is now dance. Sometimes it can turn into a twerk session. I'm not even gonna front. There's
It
days
is
where you
what it
just
is.
gotta get the emotions out,
It is what it is.
But understanding and giving myself that time and that recognition to, feel. That has been something that's just been built, and meditation's been centered around it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's been
tight.
definitely my tool for sanity and happiness.
That's tight. I was talking to I had a conversation in one of my previous episodes about twerking.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and when I told people, like, cuz I mean, I had went to Africa maybe 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a whole new different perspective on just black people in general coming back. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things that, like, in America, where we kind of look at like it's a really like a bad thing, or
Mm-hmm.
it's like we view it in like this perversion, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like we don't realize, like, the art of twerking, that's actually just like, it's just like a symbolization of like how our bodies move. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like this is just like us in our purest form. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's really not just, it's not like, originally it wasn't a sexual thing. When I was
Mm-hmm.
going out there. You see kids like dancing and twerking and everything, like little kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yo, this is. I don't feel bad for looking at this. This is like, because
Mm-hmm.
it just feels so natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and I said, nah, man, it's time to stop tripping this twerking thing. We need to cut
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah, for real, for
yeah,
real, for
it's
real.
crazy.
At the same time, it's wild. Like, we can't, in America, we can't help but guilt it,
Hmm.
because it's 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 because of the way that it's shown, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah,
you kind of hide, like, even whenever I said twerking, I felt myself like hiding a little bit, like I
yeah.
brought my shoulder up to my face a little,
I felt that. That's why I was like, let me
Um,
clarify this, y'all.
so I love the fact that you caught that and acknowledged that. That is really dope, because yes, the movement of our bodies is meant to be a form of expression.
Right,
And even in sexuality, it is meant to be a form of expression.
definitely.
When we start trying to uh shame, that's
Hmm.
when it becomes a thing,
Yeah, big
you
time.
know?
Yeah,
But shoot, twerking, dancing, letting loose, all of that is a part of what is required for your body.
yeah. It's
You
beautiful.
know,
Yeah, it's a
can't
beautiful
deny
thing.
that.
It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful thing,
Hmm. It is. It is.
yo. So I mean, because you've given me so many things that you're doing now. But now I want to go to you as a mother as well.
Hmm.
How do you manage to maintain like your meditation sessions, and at the same time, like raising a child? Is there moments where you feel interrupted, or are you able to meditate with her around? Like what's your like what strategies do you have when it comes to that?
You remember that tool called Presence I was telling you about at the beginning of this?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so she does it. She helps me do it a couple ways. Um, I'll sometimes find myself getting caught up in, emails, just regular phone stuff,
Hmm.
and she'll talk to me and she'll bring me back to present, because she's naturally always present.
Hmm.
So for me, she's like my marker of meditation. So now, if you were to expand on that, when I go to sit down,
Hmm.
and meditate, she'll sit down with me. If she happens to, have had a night and we can't get a moment to sit down, then I'll use the time that she's asleep to then take a moment to settle myself down.
Mm.
Even me singing to her, it's a meditation. Um, Incorporating a child into, like, how do I say this?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, incorporating your child into your everyday life is by far the greatest thing that you could ever do when trying to find peace.
Right.
Because acknowledging them as two separate things then makes it seem like it's another object or another obstacle you have to get over in order to reach your peace,
Yeah.
rather than recognizing that your peace is always sitting right in front of you.
Mm.
She is my peace,
Right.
and not in a form of attachment, but in a pure form. She reminds me that this life is grand and it's full,
Mm.
and she makes the day bright.
Right.
And so, like I said, I can't help but think of, when we're talking meditation, she is that.
Mm.
Um, But shoot, if I were to reflect on it another way,
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you like this. Um,
yeah, you've got to be two sides,
you
right?
know, it's parent and spirited parent, and they be bouncing back and forth all the time. So as a parent,
yeah,
when I can't reach those moments,
mm-hmm.
The only thing that I can say is sometimes you just have to put it to the side,
right,
and recognize that it's not just sitting down and being with self. Sometimes it is being there for her. Sometimes it is just going ahead and go to sleep. You know, let your sleep be your meditation.
Yeah.
But there's no grounding with having a child. You know, they're still trying to pick up everything, and so are you.
Right.
And being a first-time parent, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, no parent ever knows what to do with a kid, especially first time around.
Right.
So, incorporating the two is literally just living life and understanding, like, when I can sit down, and when I can't, that's cool, because maybe there was something I was supposed to pick up in the day instead.
Right.
And that was supposed to be my meditation.
Wow. Okay. I like that. That's a good way to put it in the perspective. That's dope.
Yeah.
And on the other end though, the first description that you gave,
mm-hmm.
do you feel like, in a sense, like just you demonstrating that in front of your daughter, do you feel like, in a sense, that's like you're also another way of like feeding your daughter good energy as well?
Yes. I feel as though teaching her that she has control over herself, because she's 2 now. So you know how like they project the terrible twos thing, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they get wild. But for my child, it's just a lot of how I see it is just curious energy. Curious, raw, innocent energy.
Yeah.
And so when you can teach her, you know, that it's okay to sit down and to feel your belly move, find your heart, simple things. Where are your eyes? Can you close them? You then teach her to recognize herself. You know, it takes her out of her head and gets her to know her vessel.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what it is that I try to do with her. Whenever it is that we're sitting and we're meditating. And ultimately, I recognize that even in teaching her about her vessel, that is feeding into her knowledge of self. And that is so powerful.
Big time. Wow. Now, on the flip side, how much of that energy, because you notice, I noticed how you said that, you know, your child has like a lot of curiosity built up pretty much. I mean, how much of that energy, that childlike energy, do you feel you have in yourself still, being that you're an adult, but do you feel like you still hold on to a lot of that energy, that childlike energy?
Yeah, I think she awakens it. I think that she reminds you that this life doesn't have to be taken as serious as it's made out to be. You know, she can look at something simple as like a piece of paper and flick it and think it's funny. But we're like, okay, the paper just flew in the wind, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Like it's a regular thing, you know?
Yeah. For her, because she remains curious, and that's something we don't do as adults. We don't remain curious. You know, eventually we just see things as okay, it's a tree, the wind is blowing, cool. But we don't take the time to listen to how that sounds.
Yeah, true.
You know, the way that it is that we walk up and down the street, the weight of our feet, all of those things the child naturally has in them, because they're not in this sense of habit, or basically I want to say a lack of appreciation, but the gratitude isn't there. It's not the same. We take it for granted. Man, you know.
That's facts.
And so that child energy, you can't help but start thinking like, what if it was that I let go a bit? And what would that do for me? Right. Would it help this stressful life that we seem to feel and have be a lot lighter? That girl teaches me more than I teach her. Just by simply being here.
That is so amazing, y'all. So
kids are great, and I wasn't planning on having them. I was not gonna do it. It was not gonna happen.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say that, and then you telling me the story, and then I also hear people who ended up having children, and they kind of share like that same story. Majority of the people, at least, you know, like. So aside from the little one, because that's a lot of inspiration that the daughter is giving you right now, but aside from that experience? Like what else inspires you?
Couple things. I would have to say, religion is a big one for me.
Okay.
The build of religion, I think, is a huge one. The way that we come about connecting to ourselves is something that is inspiring to me. If I were to bring that to another level, I would say artists of all kinds.
Right.
And it's simply because it's a reflection of self. And that's a really hard thing to do sometimes. It's hard to put our work out. It's hard to express where we are in a particular moment in time without feeling judged or, so vulnerable that, like, in truth, you could probably pass out. Things like that. I think the human existence, if I were to just be real, the human existence to me is, it's so grand and so vast. It is inspiring in itself.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. Golly. You just pulled the thoughts right out of my head just now, you know.
That's the word, yo. It's so inspiring. This life has been a gift, and I can't help but be grateful for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you were you known to be more of an introvert or extrovert?
Shoot, depend on the time, day, and place. No, I would probably definitely say more of an extrovert. I'm very social. Okay. On the inside, though, I'm probably like freaking out. But that's. But from what I hear, I've always been a socialite. I've always loved being out and about with people. Shoot, you could put me in a store, I'll say hi to everybody, and it's so funny because my daughter does that now. And really? My parents would tell me, "Oh, you're just looking at yourself." I'm like, interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, me and being social, I love people. I said that, I think, since I was 5, and it's because I think I see the good in humanity even when things are rough. I see what we're capable of, and that love is so real that I can't help but, no matter how I feel on the inside, I can't help but express it outwardly. Right. And want to connect and be with people.
Right. Steve, man. When I met you, I was working on trying to be an extrovert. Because I grew up introverted all the time. So most of the time, my thing was I would always wait for people to come to me. And when I became a photographer, I started realizing, it's might not be a good idea. Eventually I need to start approaching people. And so when I had met you, I was kind of in that stage of trying to blossom into something else. More of a social extrovert, I guess you can say.
A shout out to you because you come so far. That was 5 years. It was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, it's 2019. Yeah, about 4, almost 5 years. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and it was a dope experience. That I really enjoyed myself out there at that time. And at the same time, I mean, I think we were probably going through the same thing because I had just finished a breakup as well. I think I probably only had maybe. Yeah, it's to the point I only brought $30 with me that day.
Yo, it was a struggle for real.
Yo, it was crazy struggle. I was like, wow. But luckily, I was actually touring with a band out there, so they would help me with food and a place to stay and all that stuff like that. Because that $30 went down fast. I mean, I bought a couple of pizzas and a beer, and then dang, I only got $2 left, bro. I need help.
So real. It was such a real time. Yo.
You can't be an introvert when you only got $2. You gotta
really
talk to someone. Golly. Yeah. But yeah, it was a dope experience. So but yeah, so another question I have because you kind of mentioned would you want to say that that breakup that you had then, do you feel like that was one of your biggest challenges or biggest obstacles in life, or What like what's been one of your greatest, like, biggest obstacles, and then also how did you overcome it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would probably have to say, and truth and honesty, that breakup wasn't, don't get me wrong, it was hard. In human form, it was hard. In reflection, it was one of the greatest gifts ever, because that's what got me started. Okay. That's what got me moving. And really wanting to know who I was, and not the person that was good at being whatever it is I needed to be for a guy. Because that's a real thing. We're kind of taught to be like that at a young age, when we're playing with Ken dolls and stuff. When we're watching our mom cook, and she ain't really feeling it, but then
yeah.
But then, like, she stick it out, but she frustrated about it.
It's facts though. Yeah, that's a real thing.
So that was a yeah. I probably have to say it in truth. My biggest hurdle has been me. It's getting out of my own way. And taking the relationships that it is that I have as either a thing that we can work on until we pass on into the next phase of our lives, or wherever that is, or it can just be in the moment, and there's something it is that we're meant to come together to receive. Right. But the biggest obstacle by far has been me. I can't even put it on people, because we can let people go over time, but that energy sticks with us, and we can't help but walk with it. It's in our being at that point, especially when we're talking about having sex. We're talking about marriage. We talk about this, we talk about that. And so for that to all come apart, just because you separated from someone, they're not the pillar, you are. Right. You have to get over you. You have to find the gold and the beauty in what was, and receive that light, and be able to take that with you forward into every relationship, friendship, just passing partners, all of that. Right. So my biggest one has been me. Yeah. And even in the now, she still has her things. Like, I don't think that this life was ever meant for you to come into this perfect state. I think that the gift in this is that you're always able to see what you're capable of, and really truly that infinite connection to God that it is that you have, which is that you can get through anything. Even in death, you can get through anything, because on the other side is beauty. Yeah. Wow. So like I said, she's even working even in the now to try and be a greater and more connected woman to this infinite verse we have.
Yeah. I see you say. Growing up, did you because you made reference to your mother, did you experience a lot of pressure? Because I feel like women go through it. I mean, men go through it as well. I think we all kind of go through it, where like this social programming occurs, or cultural programming, whatever, where you're taught these same things all the time, which is marriage, house, even like career, family. Like, how did you ever feel like you were under a lot of pressure as far as like trying to meet these like expectations that it could be from parents, from society in general, but did you ever feel pressure like in your early stages?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a military child. So
me too.
That you too, yeah. Okay, so you know where I'm going with this.
All day.
So so both my mother and my father were in the military. My mother did not serve as long as my father did. My father served 30 years. Oh wow. So so in that time, I went through a couple things. I understood or felt the pressure to be not only a big sister to my younger sister, who was only truly like 13 months younger than me, right, but also to my younger brother. man, I'll never forget in middle school, I think was like the biggest thing for me. Because that was also when we had like 9/11 and all these other things going on. It was about that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my dad having to be, overseas multiple times.
Right.
And so the roles I've had to play has been of one of father and one of mother. Mothering to my siblings, and at the same time fathering to my mother, because I remember her always such a thing. I would remember her looking at the television all the time, trying to keep up with my dad because she couldn't be in contact with him. And so I learned how to be that shoulder for her, which is typically what we look for when we talk about looking for a man.
Right.
Right. So these things that it is that I have grown up with, they've shaped me. I don't mean to say a fuckload, but a whole lot. Like,
right, yeah, it is what it is.
There are parts of it that's just like, that was a time and a space, but something about that wasn't okay.
Right.
Something about that needs healing. And so that's what it is that I work into in the now, because I see that in working on who I am, I then release my daughter of some of the life that it is that she'll have to go through. Because ultimately, what we don't work on as parents and as human beings, we then pass down. And that's that generational thing that everyone's talking about right now.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that it is that I think I wouldn't really say I'm trying to break, but find harmony in. This good that it is that a woman uses her good energy to be able to cook food for family that they then ingest and know as well. But if she's coming from a space of frustration because she's not feeling like she's being supported or helped, now it has to be addressed. And so that's how I more so look at it now, more than like, this is something I have to do like I used to feel. Oh, this is something I have to do because if I cook for a man, or what's that saying? A way to a man's soul is through his stomach.
To his stomach.
Yeah. Like, okay, cool. But like, that don't have anything to do with the fact that he still got to help me clean up the dishes. You feel me? Like,
yeah.
Like, that don't take away that,
Yeah.
I could feed you all day, but that reciprocation of energy has got to be there.
Yeah. Facts.
And that's what it is that I watched my parents come into balance with over time, and they still work through it. And that's what I'm saying, like, we could work on self until we come to the end, which is our passing. But the greatest things ever is to be able to recognize, like, we can get through absolutely anything. And those social bindings, those social whatevers that we have been taught, we ultimately make that choice. We decide whether it is that we agree with or don't agree with it. And if we have a different perception, we should own it. And know that it's true to our heart space and not true to something somebody else told us. Even in my words right now, I don't want anybody to cling to it. I want you to find you. That way, when you stand in front of someone else, you know your truth better than anyone.
Right.
Then there's no need to quote any other person or any other profound individual. You will quote yourself over and over again because you know self.
That's deep. So then, speaking of generations, then, as of now, do you see humans in general, men and women, getting better through generations, or do you what do you see the current state of human society right
now? I have a teenage brother, and I'm gonna tell you, I think that the future is really bright. He has taught me a lot about what his generation is going through and what it is that they want to have happen, and the desires that our generation has, they're trying to implement in the now. I recognize that we all have our traumas and things like that, bullying, school shootouts, which has been wild, right? But at the same time, it's causing these kids to then be like, yo, no more. It's not like where we are, where we're not in that, like, we're not in a school state no more. We're adults at this point. So we're not even engaging in the same energy as them.
True.
But they're looking at us, trying to figure out how do we take what it is that they've started, this self-reflection, this self-love, these generational curse kind of things. How do we take that and build so that we can all be strong together?
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about the children that are coming after us. I'm excited for my child. I can't wait to see who she blossoms into, and the type of life she then, cultivates for herself.
Right.
Because to look at my brother grow up from, he and I are 10 years apart. So 11 years apart. 11 years apart.
Wow.
Brother and I are 11 years apart. Either way, I say that to say that in his distance in time, I got to see a baby turn into a full teenager, and I got to see what he went through and why they now are deciding to make this decision about love, health, mental space, all of that so profound. Like, I just can't emphasize it enough. I'm so turned.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
It's a dope thing, really, though. It really is. And one of my favorite songs that I love listening to is by J. Cole. It's called Middle Child. I didn't understand why he called himself that until I listened to the lyrics over and over again. I was like, okay, one verse he's speaking about younger kids, then the next verse he's speaking about like the older people. And me being, the age I'm at now, like I'm actually in between all of this. And I'm really trying to find like that gap in a sense. But I totally agree with what you're saying as far as like your view on like the younger generation. Like I love the energy that they're giving off right now. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing a lot of things that are like they're breaking a lot of chains, a lot of barriers. They're doing a lot of things. But on the other end, like I also see like how I notice a lot of the older generation, and I know this is something I don't understand yet. Is like a lot of times they kind of look down on the younger generation. But then I say, like, how can one like look down on something that they created? You understand what I'm saying? Like it's very weird to me. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I lost my train of thought because I had to ask you a question and I forgot what it was. Oh my goodness.
No, but I was going to expand. No. I was actually going to expand on it. I know why the older generation feels the way that they do about the younger generation.
That was the question too. My bad.
Oh, okay. Cool. So we coming back to full circle. I'm here for it.
There we go.
So, what is happening with the older generation is they're seeing that the younger generation is willing to step outside of, I don't call it a grid. I don't even like to call it that. But stepping outside of what it is that they were taught to do and really truly asking themselves, what am I meant to do? It's no longer a rat race kind of thing that our younger generation is going through like the older generation is. And so they're kind of seeing like, damn, they're making a way. Oh, well, now they're lazy because they found a loophole.
Yeah.
Now they don't have the same discipline because the younger generation is making a decision that they no longer want to look and feel and be the way that they see their parents struggle. They want something grander for themselves or their grandparents or whomever.
Right.
They're looking at them and being like, you know what, I don't want that. And so the older generation's like, well, why wouldn't you want it? It's structure, it's this, it's that. And it's like, but it's the very thing that has y'all suffering.
Yeah.
And I can't watch y'all suffer.
Right.
So if I can liberate myself, then I then free you too.
Yeah, exactly.
And little bit by little bit, the older generation, they can't help but rock with it. I don't care how much they try to pretend like, oh no, we ain't about it. Okay, cool. But you paying attention. Yeah. And that in itself is healing.
Yeah, hey. That's that's another thing. This is something that helped me realize, like when I started this project, I started learning more from the younger generation because the way how I was back then, like I was like, man, this isn't really working. What I was being taught, as a child, you get this job and you work these certain amount of hours and then you save up this amount of money and then you retire. I was like, man, I don't really know if I'm rocking with that, especially if I'm an artist.
Right. I mean,
I wouldn't mind having those things, but then getting them by doing the things that I actually truly are passionate about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm learning more from the younger generation, even though I still hold on to like some of those structural tips that was given by the older generation too. You know, I guess that keeps you balanced. But for the most part, as of now, like I'm really paying attention to like the generation you know, after me and everything. I'm digging what they're doing big time.
Yeah. And they're giving us that's the thing. They give us permission. You know, they show us you there's nothing worse than like thinking about the things that it is that we should have done when we were younger. You know, and then we see these younger generation persons accomplishing the things that it is that we thought we had to be older. We were told we had to be older to accomplish. And so then you start to think like, dang, I could do this now if I could just get out of my own way. I could do this right now. Why? Because the younger generation is doing it.
Yeah.
They are turning out to be millionaires, billionaires off of gaming.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
You know,
who would imagine?
The teacher said that you're not gonna be shit are like some of the most profound individuals.
Exactly.
You know, so it doesn't fit, and I think that's what it is. The older generation is seeing is that the words, what you are telling us, does not stand strong. There are multiple ways to make this life happen, and it's blossoming. It's beautiful.
Big time. Goodness gracious. Yeah, this is great, man. Let me see how much time we got. Yeah, we got a little bit more time. Okay, got a few more questions for you, Kaila.
Okay.
The first question, I feel like I may know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I'm very curious. If say right now you found out like, oh snap, this is a dream, would you be willing to wake up?
No.
And why is
that? Because there's something. I didn't just come into the dream state for a reason. Like you think about it, when we go to sleep at night, we don't just go to sleep. You know. Our spirit may wander, or our body may just need that rest. It may do that scientific thing that it is that we're taught, the REM sleep, this and that, you know, but there's a purpose for everything. And I don't want to cheat myself out of that. Right. Whatever it is that I'm here to experience within this dream, if that is what it is, I'm here for it. Right. There's no need for me to like, you know, resist it or hop out of it or any of it, because what if I missed the most grand of it all because I was capable of waking up? I have to be here, you know? I'm committed, I should say, I am committed to being here. And for however long that is, and whatever state it is that I come into next, I'm going to rock with that one too. Because there's no point in resisting it. We are always moving forward, no matter what. We cannot go back to the past. There's no way that you and I can even truly go back on a conversation that is we're having in the now. You feel me? Yeah. There is nothing but forward. And so if that be the case, me waking up don't mean that it's going to remove me. Right. You know, so I might as well just keep on. Like, I'm, you know, like, we here. Why not?
Right.
Why not?
I could dig it. Wow. Okay. So then... So, as a matter of fact, someone had asked me this question. They asked me because I was like, yeah, I don't know how to answer this question right now. I think I was sleepy or something. But but the question, and I want to see if maybe you could come up with the answer for it. How does one find the strength to do what they know is right in their heart?
Normally, it's when we're not thinking about it and we're just in the moment that it all comes about. I don't think that when someone decides to go and save a child from a burning building that they were trying to muster up the strength to do it. No, they just did it. And I think that, you know, once that is activated, then that bravery then comes in. You know, once you have moved past that point of fear, then everything else comes into play. Right. You know, but when we sit and we ponder about what is strength, what is this, what is that, rather than being and allowing it to show itself to you. Yeah, that's that's ultimately where it's going to come from. You
Goodness.
know, we only know what it is that we do, and then we reflect on it.
Right.
Other than that, how much attention are we really truly paying to ourselves? And there's so much that it is that we don't know. So we can't help but have that marker. Well, I did this, and from that I felt this, and now I am capable.
Mm.
So that strength comes from standing on that other side of fear.
Wow. And it sounds like it has a lot to do with just simply always being present then, in a sense. You know,
And that's why I told you that presence thing at the beginning of this.
I
It
did.
always comes back to it. Always.
Man, dope. Okay. That was super profound. So then I feel safe asking the final question then.
Okay.
It's a question I ask all my guests, which is, if you got word that this would be your last year on this planet, how would life look for you? Would you change anything? Just overall, how would life look after hearing that news and knowing only 365 days are left?
Okay. I think I would push to love harder. I would appreciate the passing of persons a whole lot more. I think that it would amplify what I take for granted in the now. And so that by the time that last day came, I would be fulfilled.
Wow. Now I have another question now, because you just opened up a whole new. What does loving harder look like in your eyes?
Surrendering. It's
wow.
surrender.
Wow. Okay.
It's understanding that I truly don't have control over all of this. You know, I only know what I know because I know it, and it came from existing and being present. And even in that is minuscule to all that exists.
Wow.
So yeah, I actually lost myself in that.
Right. Dang. That's deep, y'all.
Yeah.
Goodness. look, I'm over here like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I forgot I'm interviewing here.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of conversations, though. That's the type of stuff that it is that I look to have and connect with people on. Yeah. Because once it is that you reach that point, we're now coming back to meditation again. We're now pondering. And that's a gift. We don't get to experience that too often.
That's facts.
And so that's what it is. That ultimately, anytime that I talk to someone, I look for that. Yeah. I look for that point where it's like, you know what? I lost my train of thought. Good, because there's something else supposed to receive in that.
Right. Goodness.
Yeah.
It's facts, man. Kaila, promise me that they will do another one of these episodes.
Of course. I'm here for it.
And for the record, I had to let you know I'm super proud of just your growth in general. Very happy about the newborn. Not the newborn, I'm sorry, the new arrival. I'm calling her the new arrival because I have yet to had the opportunity to congratulate you on her and everything. So
yeah, thank you.
Y'all just keep it up for real, y'all, because I mean your energy is beautiful, y'all. I had to tell you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. As is yours. Seriously, look at where we are, yo.
Yeah.
Think about that. Look at where we met each other and look at where we are.
Yeah.
And think about it. We have so much further to go. So being in present, this is such a gift.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time to do this.
It's definitely a pleasure.
With everybody, not just with me, with everybody, because what you're doing is profound.
Man, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That means a lot. Hey, is there you have any other final thoughts? Anywhere, where people can find you? Anything you want to promote? The mic is yours.
Yeah, the promo stuff. Let's see. No, I'll say my Instagram is KILOJII. I am working on trying to really get the community involved with themselves, with love, with all of it. So there's going to be so much coming in the next year. I'm working on a few business things that I would like to have done at the say middle of 2020, that is really going to give people the tools and the access that they need to be able to work on themselves. So I'm talking psychologists, therapists, and if you're subscribing to the spiritual end of it, the psychics, the this, the that. I want to be able to create a platform where everyone can come and feel like they can find a space to begin to heal and to love and to be. So yeah, all of that is just going to be done through my Instagram. I'm a terrible Facebook person. I truly don't commit to the other ones. I probably should do a better job. Who knows?
Nah, Instagram is good enough.
Yeah, but I was just saying, but Instagram is also Facebook anyway. Like, don't they own it? So it's kind of like, it's like double work.
Yeah. That's why I always sync it, right? I sync it to my Facebook. I'm like, okay, they'll get it, via Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, it's like cool. I done dropped it off in one spot. It should end up in like 12 others. But yeah, just simple social media. I invite all of those who are just looking to find themselves. I'm here. I'm open. I'm about it. So let's go.
Oh man, beautiful. All right, well, man, okay. Unfortunately, this is when we ended.
For now.
I feel great though. I'm telling you, I needed this interview this conversation. I'm not even gonna say interview. I needed this conversation more than ever. This was like, I don't know. This was better than reading a book today. So.
Well, it has been something that I'm so grateful for, and like I said, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, always peace and blessings to you, and we stay in touch, y'all.
Yes. Until next time.
Yes. All right, peace.
Cool. Bye.